Now, yesterday, the Queen carried out her first major public duty since her husband, Prince Philip, died. This was her 67th state opening of Parliament, and for decades before, her husband would be by her side. But this time, not only was Prince Philip absent, but also his chair. Very poignant symbol, I thought, of her loss. And it did make me... I mean, she is incredible, and but it made me a little bit sad just watching her. Again, it was almost, you know, it's like his funeral where she was sitting alone. We're so used to seeing him, aren't we, by her side. And it got me thinking about, you know, returning to work or duty or whatever it is you have to do in your life after a bereavement, you know, when you're grieving. And I think everybody's very different. And when my sister died, I actually needed to get back to work. I won't say look forward to it, but I needed that because I needed that structure back in my life. I needed something to get up for in the morning, and also that I could kind of shut off the grief a bit and go, have a cry in the shower and then go, right, come on, pull yourself together, work now. So it's like, you know, I needed that to take me away from the grief, actually. And it's interesting people's reaction, isn't it, as well, to watching you, you know, is she all right? Is she going to cry? And, you know, especially a show like this, because we laugh a lot, don't we? And so it's strange that first time you do anything where you want to laugh or you're required to laugh or you're required to look like you're having fun, because there's almost like a guilty feeling of should I be enjoying my life again so soon?
I think there's definitely that because... like you said, especially on this show, I remember when I lost Bernie, and I've been here when I lost my mom and things like that. And like you, there was a big part of me that needed to get back, but you feel guilty because you sit here and you go, I mean, I know we're having a laugh, but I still really miss my sister, or I still really miss my mom, you know, and you feel guilty about maybe the way people are judging you. You know, there was a friend of ours years ago who was a very well-known comedian, and, you know, the day his wife died, he went on stage that night. I mean, how hard must that be? Because he's a comedian. And, you know, there was quite a lot of people around going, oh, I don't think he should do that, I don't... You know, everybody grieves differently and you have to handle it the best way you can.
Janet,
it really is, yeah.
Well, I think what Coleen has said is true. I mean, when my sister died, I knew that it was coming. Obviously, it's something horrible. You do anything to stop a death, you know, from cancer. It's so protracted. It's just agony to watch. And it's, you know, got this inevitability about it. So when my sister died, I understand why that comedian went on stage, because I was doing a one-woman show at the time, and the very next night I went on stage. I don't think I was very good, but I needed to do it to take myself away, because I think there's all different kinds of grief as well. Because I'd expected my sister's death, yes, I was really badly affected. But when a close friend of mine, Jonathan, died without any warning whatsoever, a young man in his 40s, he had been my trainer for 10 years, was much more than just a trainer, as a close personal friend, and so was his wife. He left my house and he went home and he went running and he dropped down dead from an undiagnosed heart condition. Well, I actually grieved so deeply over that. I could hardly speak to his wife because I didn't know what to say. And
well, there's an element of shock involved in that, isn't there?
Shock and feeling like there's nothing you can say that's OK, is there?
And what do you say, Frankie? You know, I know when I came back to work, people were really kind, and sometimes that's hard.
Yes.
Because when, you know, and we're a very close team here, and people feel they've got to say something, but then they don't want to upset you, and it's hard to know what to say, isn't it?
It's hard to know what to say, I think, because you do know, like, you know, with the people closest to you, you know, if you give them a hug, then that's going to set them off and they might not necessarily want to cry, but everyone just wants to be kind, don't they? So it's hard to know what to say. I went straight back to work when my nan passed away, and she was the first person that I'd ever lost in my life, and I was really close to her. And when I look back now, I don't think I really properly took it in. Like, it happened, I went to the funeral and I went back to work, and there was so much other stuff.
How old were you then?
Must have been about 19, I think. And I'm only really dealing with that now. Like, I did a podcast randomly with a bereavement therapist, and after talking to her, I realised I had so many issues around death and bereavement and things, and she started working with me on that, and it all stems back to my nan, because I'm only really just dealing with it now, and that was such a long time ago. So it just shows you that I think we often think, oh, you know, when someone's lost someone, we give them a few weeks, we're there for them, and then we all kind of move on. And that person's still left there with that grief.
They do say, you know, oh, don't go back too soon, or don't bottle up your grief, but sometimes that's best for some people. You know, some people want to talk, and other people say, you know what, I'm just putting the lid on today. You know, and they don't want to talk.
When you came back to work, people did say, you know, she's come back to work. There were people who carped, and I completely understood why you came back. And it was one of the few bits of routine that you had that you could just reintroduce back into your life and keep going with a little bit of your life normal.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I thought, well, what else do I do? Just sit at home and cry all day? Because that's what I felt like doing.
Yeah, because that's the fear. That was the same with Bernie. You think, if I don't get up, I'm not going to get up.
No,
so I have to
lie here and cry.
So you have to just move on and do it.
Yeah. Well, listen, for any of you out there who are grieving about anything, anyone, we send you our love. And don't forget, we always have helplines, information about helplines on our website if you do want some support.